Honestly, the biggest problem that I have today is that I was going to bring champagne and I was going to toast and we were going to celebrate that maybe the justice system isn't as broken. Maybe there is just a little bright light that we have the same standard in this country. And I forgot this champagne. So you guys at home, if you have champagne, I know, I forgot it. I know. I'll toast with this water. Cheers. Disgraced CNN anchor Don Lemon was arrested. Couldn't happen to a more deserving guy. Federal agents have arrested him over the Minnesota church protest. Now, it's so interesting. I called him disgraced Don Lemon, disgraced CNN host Don Lemon. I don't see that in the media anywhere, which is so interesting because he was already canned from CNN, and somehow you're only disgraced if you're a conservative. If you're a conservative and you ever get fired from something or people decide that they don't like you anymore, you're disgraced. If you're Don Lemon and you make misogynistic comments on air and you cause problems at your company and you get fired and then you get arrested for your crimes, you're never disgraced. And so I just find that interesting. It's just something that I thought I would point out. So in typical homosexual fashion, Don Lemon is playing the victim, and it's all very dramatic, okay? So his lawyer said that he was taken into custody by federal agents last night in Los Angeles where he was covering the Grammy Awards. The poor guy was just covering the Grammy Awards, and he got arrested. Don has been a journalist for 30 years, and his constitutionally protected work in Minneapolis was no different than what he has always done, which is a little odd considering most of his career he sat behind a desk and turned his nose up at everyone. So I'd say it's a little different. The First Amendment exists to protect journalists whose role it is to shine light on the truth and hold those in power accountable. There is no more important time for people like Don to be doing this work. And instead of investigating the federal agents who killed 2 peaceful Minnesota protesters, where were the peaceful protesters who got killed? Where were those people? What I saw was one chick drive a car into an ICE officer and the other guy go physically confront and put his hands on an ICE officer. I didn't see the peaceful protesters.
She peacefully ran the car into it.
She was just peacefully driving
yeah.
her car into a human being. It's very peaceful, though. Other than that, the Trump Justice Department is devoting its time, attention, and resources to this arrest, and that is the real indictment of wrongdoing in this case. I mean, God, do I have to read all of these words? This unprecedented attack on the First Amendment, and transparent attempt to distract attention from the many crises facing this administration will not stand. Don will fight these charges. This is actually, it's so crazy that they put in writing. There seems to be so many people, including Don's lawyer, who doesn't understand what the First Amendment is. And I just want to go back to his actual statement when I just read it a second ago. The First Amendment exists to protect journalists whose role it is to shine light on the truth and hold those in power accountable. Well, what do you think you were doing storming a damn church and terrorizing congregants in the church? Are they secretly in power? Do they hold any power? Are these are the, you're not going to take up your grievances with the government.
I'm just here photographing.
I don't understand. Are those people in power? No, of course not. They're just trying to worship at their church. So thank you for pointing out once again that this is not a case of First Amendment rights. Now, clearly, they've both demonstrated, Don and his lawyer, that they have no clue what the First Amendment is. So let's go ahead and give them a reminder, okay? The First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States says that Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Now, That seems very clear to me. The point is that he's using this freedom of the press line, and he's like, "Well, I have the freedom. I'm a press. I have credentialed press badges. I am a journalist. I fancy myself a journalist. I get to go wherever the hell I want, into any private institution, any private business, any private company, and go behave any way I want because I'm a journalist." Like, that's obviously not what this says. And I'm just saying, if Don Lemon was such an amazing journalist, he's a 30-year journalist, I think I know what I'm doing. I'm just doing what I've always been doing. Maybe, Don, go talk to your friends over at the Committee to Protect Journalists, who literally gives legal advice. They give legal advice. Let me give you some of their quick tips and recommendations. When covering demonstrations, protests, and campaign or political events, make sure you know in advance what restrictions are in place regarding the public's right to access, and then whether there are any restrictions on place. Do not trespass on private property to gather news. Oh, and on top of that, maintain neutrality when covering events. For example, do not join crowd chants or wear clothing with slogans related to the events you are covering. Obviously, those are two examples. They're not all encompassing. But even this is legal advice from a committee that wants to protect journalists. And even they are like, yeah, like, your rights do not extend to private entities. And also, if you're going to cover it, you can cover it. But that just means, like, you follow, you show what's happening. You don't fan the flames or join in on the fun. Does that sound like what Don Lemon did? I don't know. We'll see in a second. It also says, the Committee to Protect Journalists says that the First Amendment protects both the freedom of speech and the freedom of the press. Journalists have a right to access public places to gather and disseminate news. Public places include sidewalks and public parks, but not private property. Not private property. In addition, for government-owned property, even those that allow limited access to the public, members of the public, protesters, and reporters may be barred, which is honestly not even, like, that doesn't even apply because it already has said it exists, and that's fine. You don't have a right to go into private property and access it and do whatever the hell you would like. That's not part of your First Amendment right. It's also not part of your First Amendment right to go in, all of the protesters who went in there and stormed the church. You don't have a First Amendment right to just storm a private entity and start yelling and screaming at them. You could do it on the sidewalk. You could do it on public property. Your First Amendment rights don't extend to anything inside of private property. And remember, the point of it is that you have the right to protest your government. You have the right to protest whatever. You have the right to redress your grievances. But that is with the government, not with a church. So let's review some of what actually happened to see if Don Lemon here may be in a little bit of trouble. Maybe he went a little bit above and beyond his First Amendment right. And we have the receipts because he just live streamed it all. So, like, we have all of the footage. We already know he invaded private property. He was there inside the church. He stormed the church as well. So that's strike one, Don. Then, did he maintain his journalistic neutrality? Remember, that's what the legal advice said. It said you have to be neutral. If you're doing something like following a bunch of people that you know are committing a crime, but you feel that it is your journalistic right, it is your journalistic duty to follow them and document it, you shut the hell up and you do it. Now, I don't know what you think. I think the receipts prove otherwise. Watch.
The MAGA administration and the fake news MAGAs are losing their mind over something that's not even true. So let me just make it clear, because this assistant attorney general, I don't know, what's her name? It's something Hammett.
It's Harmeet Dillon, Mr. 30-year journalist.
I had no affiliation to that organization. I didn't even know they were going to this church until we followed them there. We were there chronicling protests.
Oh, he didn't know.
And once the protests started in the church, we did an act of journalism. These are resistance protesters. They're planning an operation that we're going to follow them on. I can't tell you exactly what they're doing, but it's called Operation Pull Up. and it's Takima Armstrong, and she has been doing this since George Floyd, Dante Wright, and others, where they surprise people, catch them off guard, and hold them to account. And so that's what we're doing here. And then after we do this operation, you'll see it live. And these operations are surprise operations. Again, can't tell you where they're going.
We're doing it, though.
Right now.
We're doing it.
And then we're going to head over to Whipple, and we're just going to show you what's happening on the ground.
Oh, well, hold on, Don. Hold on. Time out. You said afterwards, after you had been caught, you said afterwards, I had no idea, didn't know where they were going. But then I committed an act of journalism. That's all I did. I just followed them. Wherever the case may lead, I just followed them. But curiously, much different tune beforehand when he literally lumps himself into the group of people by saying, we are going to go do this. I know where we're going. I can't tell you, but we are going there. Much different tune than what he said afterwards when he was caught. So remember, he clearly knew. He was in on it. He groups himself in on the same group that we already know committed these violations. And on top of that, does this seem like Don Lemon is maintaining neutrality while talking to the preacher of this church?
We asked them to leave, and they obviously have not left. So.
What do you think of this?
I mean, this is unacceptable. It's shameful. It's shameful to interrupt a public gathering of Christians in worship. So.
But there were folks who will say,
I have to take care of my flock.
Okay, but listen, we live there's a constitution in the First Amendment to freedom of speech and freedom to assemble and protest.
Yeah. We're here to worship. We're here to worship Jesus because that's the hope of these cities. That's the hope of the world is Jesus Christ.
I want to be very respectful. Please don't push me, though.
We're here to worship Jesus. Yes. That's why we're here. Yes. Okay, that's why we're here. Okay. That's what we're about.
Don't you think Jesus would be understanding
we're about
and love these folks?
We're about spreading the love of Jesus.
But did you try to talk to them as a Christian?
No one is willing to talk.
Okay.
I have to take care of my church and my family, so I asked that you actually would also leave this building.
I mean, the audacity of a homosexual man to be like scolding a pastor about what Jesus would do is like actually insane to me. I think Jesus says it's exit only. That's what I think. Like the audacity of this guy to go up to criticize the pastor. And remember, he said in his little before the protest when he's like, we got a surprise for you. He said, that's what this woman does. She organizes these Operation Pull-Up events or whatever the hell he called it. And he said where they go in there and they surprise these people and they hold them to account. Like, who are you holding to account by going in and storming a church and terrorizing church members? None of this is tracking, Don. None of this is an act of journalism. How about Don Lemon belittling churchgoers?
I've been out reporting on a lot of these, and they're not targeted. There are no warrants signed by a judge. Let me finish. And they're American citizens, many of them. Most of the people that they detain don't have criminal convictions or criminal records.
I'm not going to get into the weeds.
But you should know that, though. Don't you think that's part of it?
Yes, and I could also show you many opposing sides where we're also picking up the very criminals that have put Americans in danger. And I'm not saying it's pretty. I'm not saying it's not messy. I'm not saying it couldn't be better. I'm saying this is a part of a much larger dialogue in which one administration caused a great deal of chaos and havoc and danger for American citizens, and another is trying to correct that.
Do you believe that? Why? Honestly,
okay.
Let me talk to you just on the
not
facts.
A journalist.
Yes, I am. I want to give you the facts.
No.
Did you know that undocumented people and immigrants commit far less crime than American citizens?
Is that neutrality? Is that neutrality, Don? Dude, you're screwed. You are screwed. You are caught in 4K not committing an act of journalism, as it turns out. And by the way, remember, it couldn't happen to a more deserving guy because as he was a part of this, he was like mocking the children. Like, well, these kids are walking out. They look pretty traumatized, but it's time for them to learn pretty early on that, hey, it's just what the First Amendment is about. Watch
this guy here, look, he's hugging his kid. And, you know, I imagine it's uncomfortable and traumatic for the people here. But again, careful, it's very slippery right here. Yeah. It's uncomfortable and traumatic for the people here, but that's what really, careful, please, really slippery. Not kidding.
It's uncomfortable.
That's
Sometimes
what
the First
protesting
Amendment
is
is
about.
uncomfortable. And it's just good that these kids can learn that as early, as young as possible. It's just what the First Amendment is about. Like, could you... I would respect these people more if they weren't just so blatantly retarded. Like, know what you're talking about, dude. You call yourself a journalist. You want to tell everyone that I'm a journalist for 30 years, and you still don't understand that the First Amendment has nothing to do with your right to storm private property. Like, that is not part of it. And you don't get to follow, like, you are not acting as a journalist. You're going in there, you're instigating things. You're criticizing the pastor of a church. You're going back and forth belittling the churchgoers. If you want their opinion, you hold the mic out and you get their opinion. You're going, do you really believe that? Come on. Actually, let me explain to you why you're wrong. That is not maintaining neutrality. And by the way, let's talk about maintaining neutrality. Let me show you what an impartial journalist. He just committed an act of journalism, and he is so impartial that he went on later to go tell this trans woman or what, she looks trans. I'm told that I guess she's a biological female. Could have fooled me. Here's what he had to say to this Democrat hack.
And there's a certain degree of entitlement. I think people who are, you know, in the religious groups like that, it's not the type of Christianity that I practice, but I think that they're entitled, and that entitlement comes from a supremacy, a white supremacy. And they think that this country was built for them, that it is a Christian country, when actually we left England because we wanted religious freedom. It's religious freedom, but only if you're a Christian and only if you're a white male, pretty much. And so, yeah, I absolutely 100%, but it's an intimidation tactic. And, you know, I said, I don't understand how I've become the face of it when I was a journalist. I do understand that I'm the biggest name there. And I'm also, as I was on with my producers this morning, you know, you and Kylie talk all the time. My producers were saying, I said, how did I become the face of this? And my producer said, Don, you're a gay black man in America.
Oh, well, hold on. So now the church members are white supremacists? So did you only engage in Operation Pull-Up because they were white? Because now I'm just thinking maybe they should look into upgrading the charges to a hate crime. I have you on 4K explaining that I guess they deserved it because they were white. And now because they are white, they must be white supremacists. And that's why what you did was okay. Maybe the folks over at the DOJ should be looking for whether or not they should upgrade this to a hate crime. By the way, this man has also called for an armed uprising. You know, just as an impartial journalist, he's called for an armed uprising against ICE explicitly.
Black people, brown people of all stripes, whether you're an Indian American or a Mexican American or whoever you are, go out in your place where you live and get a gun legally, get a license to carry legally. Because when you have people knocking on your door and taking you away without due process as a citizen, isn't that what the Second Amendment was written for?
Did someone add lisps there? Did I swear, Steven, did I like that? He doesn't normally lisp like that, does he?
I actually wasn't really listening because Chris gave me some breaking news to break for this, that he officially was charged with federal civil rights crimes in this protest as well.
Hell yes. Hell yes. Throw the book at these bastards. Hell yes. Oh my God. Just inject that into my veins. By the way, I don't use drugs. It's just a joke. But if I did, I could inject that and that would get me totally high. I would be riding high for the rest of the day. And by the way, I want to remind you guys, he was arrested after he was indicted by a grand jury. This was not President Trump unilaterally being a dictator. This was a grand jury of his peers. I believe it was in Minnesota, who decided, yeah, it turns out you can't do that. This is incredible. We need more of it. Now, I do want to play for you the organizer. Just, we're having fun today. It's a good day. It's a celebration. Arrest all of these blowhards who break the law and think that they're above the law while turning down their nose at you and saying nobody is above the law. The organizer who he mentioned, Nikema Armstrong, she was arrested previously. And I guess she's been bailed out or whatever because she's back, taken to the podium, and she's like, let me tell you how traumatic it was that I was taken away in chains. And I think you're going to know where she's immediately going to go with that.
We had belly chains around our waist, and we had handcuffs with bars in the middle. As someone who majored in African American studies, I can tell you that that is the closest I ever felt to slavery in my life. Being shackled as if I was a slave. It is unacceptable and unconscionable, but it's on brand.
Oh, I saw Larry Elder say that the closest that she had ever been to slavery was picking the cotton out of her aspirin bottle. And that's about right. So it's not like slavery when we put the people in chains, the white people who are getting arrested, but somehow it's like slavery because you're black. So we should, I guess, just not cuff them.
PTSD for them, Sarah. It's too soon.
Is it?
It's too soon.
This woman had no experience with slavery at all.
It's too soon.
How many generations removed does it become not too soon?
Too soon.
It's always too soon, I guess. Golly, it's incredible. So, as you would expect, as you would predict, the Democrats, they're not well. They're not handling this well. Let me give you Senator Cory Booker. Arresting a journalist is a blatant attempt to intimidate and a further indicator of Trump's authoritarianism. It had nothing to do with Trump. It goes against the most fundamental American values outlined in the First Amendment. So what he is saying there, guys, I'm going to ask, next time I have a lawmaker on, I'm going to ask them, can we institute, you can't run for office unless you can answer the most basic quiz about our actual fundamental rights. Because I notice that these people talk about our fundamental rights and American values and our rights in the First Amendment all the time, and they clearly have no idea what they're talking about, because what he's saying here seems to insinuate that if you are a journalist, you can just break whatever laws you want and then just say, I'm a journalist, and you're totally immune to any sort of arrest, which is absolutely patently absurd. And yet you have a senator. There's only 100 of those guys in the entire country. There's only 100. And somehow this guy doesn't even know about the most basic fundamental principles of this country. Let me give you House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. Don Lemon is an accomplished journalist. I can't even say that with a straight face. An accomplished journalist whose urgent work is protected by the First Amendment. There is zero basis to arrest him, and he should be freed immediately. The Trump Justice Department is illegitimate, and these extremists will all be held accountable for their crimes against the Constitution. Again, save your anger, I guess, for the grand jury who looked at the evidence and decided that, yes, he did commit crimes. It was them, not Trump. Trump wasn't I know, I'm going to infiltrate this grand jury with my own people. These were people in Minnesota who said, yeah, I think that he did something wrong, and I think that he should feel the accountability of that. This is how, these people have no concept of just, basic facts. And my favorite, Jasmine Crockett. Are you effing kidding me? At least she censored herself that time. That's interesting. Don Lemon has been arrested by the DOJ. Exercising your First Amendment constitutionally protected right gets you locked up. Exercising your second gets you killed, and actual murder, well, in uniform gets you nothing. This is not normal nor okay. How'd I do, Stephen?
That was pretty spot on. I was scared for a second. I thought she was here.
Got the head on a swivel. Yep. I've been practicing. And then, of course, Keith Olbermann, who I'm not sure if anyone even still listens to him. Every time I bring up Keith Olbermann, I do have to say it does feel like nobody in his family loves him enough to tell him that he should stop. I mean, imagine going on the way that you are. And
Sarah, there's no way anyone in his family loves him. Have you heard him?
I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, apparently nobody loves him enough to be like.
Yes, apparently. 100%. I'd be shocked if someone did tell him to stop.
Yeah, I mean, just to bring embarrassment on the family, even maybe. So he said, anybody still doubt this lunatic tyrant Trump has always planned to arrest journalists, suppress media, and neuter the First Amendment? Now he's started. By the way, Keith Olbermann, the same Keith Olbermann who had no problem with Steve Bannon, when he got sent to prison. Oh, no one is above the law, not even the rich, not even the powerful, not even the derelict. And the Biden regime, remember, like they targeted conservatives explicitly, nearly 100 Republican groups and individuals. And then on top of that, since this hit so close to home, our very own Steve Baker was charged for covering January 6th. And last time I looked at the footage of Steve, I didn't see him going in there and trying to argue with anyone about what is happening in DC on that day. He is literally simply like documenting it. And he faced charges. He was going to be locked up until President Trump acted and pardoned all of those poor people. So you know what? Spare me. The FACE Act exists. You guys had no problem charging peaceful protesters protesting outside of pro-life communities, pro-life centers. Outside of abortion clinics. Now you expect some sort of, immunity? You did it. Face the consequences. I hope they throw the book at them.